Everyone is unique. No one has the same story as me, and no one has the same story as you. So, I want to know what it's like to be you. Growing up, sometimes it feels like you're always getting told what to do. If it's not your parents, it's your teachers. If it's not your teachers, it's your siblings. Sometimes it feels like you're never going to be in charge. So, what's it like to not be in charge?
Hello.
Hi, I'm Jasper.
My name's Vanessa.
Hi, my name is Pip.
My name's Archer.
And I'm 16 years old.
How does it feel not to be in charge? Well, it feels very annoying and frustrating to not be in charge.
It feels like you can't really get a lot done when you're not in charge. It's just like you don't have much power at all.
Not being in charge feels pretty hard for me because I like being able to control my environment around me. But when I can't do that, I'm just not really happy.
It's hard to be in charge. I reckon it's hard to be in charge because it comes with like a bit of responsibility, and not just responsibility for other people, but also for yourself, because you have to be okay with what you've put out into the world and you have to own it.
The most frustrating thing about being a kid is sometimes you don't get to do what you want. If you really, really want it, you can't do it sometimes.
They underestimate kids. They're like, you're just a small little kid. You don't know what 2 divided by 55 is. Which some kids don't, but that's not the point. The point is that people underestimate kids, and they shouldn't, because kids can do big things.
sometimes grown-ups don't take you seriously or pay attention to you, think you're worth listening to, or they just call you there.
If you think about the leaders today, they probably don't consider what it's going to be like in 100 years when we're still alive. Actually, I'd be very old then, but 116 years old.
I feel like young people aren't heard as much as older people because they're younger and they're less experienced, but I think our opinions are still very valid, and it's good for other generations to listen to each other and just to see what everyone has to say.
I think some people don't take kids seriously because they've seen 1 or 2 kids that have acted irresponsibly, but in reality, the majority of us are pretty good at what we do. We're pretty good at accepting things, accepting people, and making decisions when we need to.
But they seem to forget that they were kids once. Adults probably didn't take them seriously, so I'd do the same thing to us. Doesn't make sense.
What I'd say to adults who don't take kids seriously or younger people seriously or even listen to them is that we've had to deal with what you have to say. We've listened to you, we've been compliant. I think it's your turn to listen to us.
For adults who don't take kids seriously, they should just find a moment to chat to them and find out what their views are, and they'll actually end up finding out that it's the other way around, that kids really do have good views.
I think I would say to adults who don't take kids seriously, just, listen. Just because we are giving you our opinion doesn't mean you have to take it, but you have to actually receive the information. You can't just shut it off straight away. And whether or not you agree with it, that's fine, but at least listen.
What I'd say to someone who doesn't take kids seriously is you should. In 20 years, we're going to be running the country, and you're going to be the one who's not taken seriously.
If I was in charge of Australia,
Oh.
If I was in charge of Australia, for once I'd be pretty dang happy.
I don't think I'd know where to begin with that. It's a lot of responsibility.
Being in charge of Australia would take a lot of pressure, and I would be relieved to not be in charge of Australia.
If I was in charge of Australia, I think that I would take a really big look into climate change and also the injustices in this country for all people.
If I was in charge of Australia, I'd take the climate emergency much more seriously, such as the bushfires. I would endeavour to plan ahead and also help the communities affected.
I would listen to the people and what they would want, because I feel like our politicians sometimes, they just block their ears a bit too much. I feel like they need to listen a bit more.
I would stop people being racist and discriminating others by how they look or what colour they are, because everyone deserves to be welcomed into this amazing, fabulous country.
At the moment, I'm pretty happy with not being in charge of the country. I feel like as a 14-year-old boy, I probably shouldn't be put in charge of a whole nation. As I grow older, I might feel different about that. I might want to have some input on what goes on in the country, but at the moment, I don't have a massive problem with staying in school and not being in the Parliament House.
Yeah, if I were in charge of Australia, I would work to shut down all of the coal mining industries and replace them with solar energy, wind energy, renewable energies, rather than mining up dead dinosaurs and then burning them.
I would probably change the way we looked at environmental stuff. So I put up, wind power, solar power, make every community sustainable and environmentally friendly, and everyone's gonna go vegan.
At the moment, kids can't vote, but I really believe they should be able to, because their voice should be put out there and people should really value what they have to say.
I think kids aren't allowed to vote, but I think at a certain age, such as 16 or 15, kids should definitely be allowed to vote, because young people should have a say in how their country processes and goes. And once you get to that 15, 16 age, you can be a lot more responsible with how you vote. You wouldn't just vote for the party that'll give kids lots of candy or the party that'll make Australia great again.
I think young people should be taught more about politics and more about how the system works, but I don't think that young people should vote. I think we should definitely keep it at 18.
I don't think it should be able to vote. I feel like we're also this stage of our life is very much about growth and your opinions, and your opinions are always changing, so it doesn't stop when you stop becoming a kid. But in this period of time, it's a lot of learning and just lots of new information. So I think if we were given the opportunity to vote, it could go south very quick.
I feel like since we are going to be the future, I feel like we should definitely have a big input on who's going to run the country when we're going to be at the age where we're going to be having to live in it and work in it and pay taxes and all that. I feel like it's important that we should have a say at who we put in Parliament. Yeah.
I reckon we should be able to not vote necessarily, but have an opinion. Not on the major things, but just have sort of what our point of view is, get it across, have a platform where we can speak.
The world has some poor leaders and some quite good leaders at the same time.
To the world leaders of today, I'd give the advice: 1, listen to Greta Thunberg for once. 2, stop declaring wars for no reason the slightest. 3, save those poor kids who are starving and stop looking towards your fantasies of eternal wealth.
If I was to give any advice to the world leaders, it'd probably be look after the world. As simple as that sounds, because it's not going to be long before it's too late to fix it.
Just listen to the people, address issues that everyone knows exists. Maybe try to address them, maybe try and fix them.
Wake up. Don't be blinded by ignorance. You need to go out and live in the communities that are being affected by these, all these different issues that people are talking about. Because you can't just look from your, corporate you know, big building, fancy house, and make decisions for people that are affecting everyone.
We're the future of Australia. We need to know what's going on, and we need to know what we can do, what's in our power to either stop that or progress that or just make Australia better than we are today.
If I became a world leader one day, I would say to my future self to stay humble and just think about the needs of other people and don't let the power go to my head, hopefully.
I hope my future self never forgets that you're allowed to dream big and no idea and no dream is too far-fetched, as long as you put your heart to it.
I hope my future self never forgets that it's very important to give yourself a break and to not take things too seriously.
When I'm an adult, I hope that I never forget that when you're 13, life is boring. So you should make the most of all your opportunities. Don't take anything for granted because otherwise it might just disappear.